What's up, YouTube? It's your boy again, come back with another video on this channel. As always, I am the Rhino, and this is obviously my fellow co-host.
Hi y'all. This is Empower. Nice to have you all with us today.
Yeah, very happy to have y'all. So we're gonna just share our, we're just gonna share our experiences before and during and after COVID, and what we think about the future of after COVID.
There is no after. Let's correct that. There is no after. COVID is here. It's not going anywhere.
Correct. All right. Let me. I apologize for misspeaking. But anyways, let's start with an easy question. I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Got a busy day ahead. What about you?
The usual. Homework, trying to finish up school, trying to get ahead finally.
Good. That's always fun.
Yeah. Well, that's about it. But I guess we'll figure out how to start this properly moving forward. But
yeah, go ahead.
But so obviously our generation lived through COVID.
Not just our generation, everyone.
Yeah, everyone, future, past, present, future generations will be affected by COVID.
Right.
So yeah, so what are your thoughts about life before COVID? This is like 2019, or I guess even early 2020.
Honestly, I'm just gonna speak about my own experience.
Right.
I'm having the time of my life. I learned, like many other women in particular, and men as well, that you no longer have to work for the 9 to 5 that you don't believe in if you can do something on your own. And that's something that I absolutely did. I pivoted, and I stepped into a new world, a new life, where I am the pilot first and foremost, and I'm having an amazing time. Honestly, I know that life is hard and different in so many ways now with learning to cope with COVID, but for me personally, and for some people in my circle, we used COVID as an opportunity to find our own passions and pursue them, and stop working and living for the rest of the world and starting to put ourselves first. So for myself, I'm having a blast. It wasn't easy getting here, but it was so well worth the wait. So I'm living it up for sure.
Nice. I guess I'm in the same, if not similar boat. It showed me that I'm stronger than I thought I was, at least. Because like coming into COVID, I was kind of, I wouldn't say I was strong, like physically, emotionally, and even psychologically, to a degree. But COVID's kind of like pushed that limit up, or if that's the right verbiage. So it's kind of like, it's just interesting for me to see, like, all right, I'm able to juggle not only going to work, but school, dealing with COVID, and obviously launching this podcast, which we did, I think, March of last year. And it's kind of like, cool. I can do a lot more than I thought I could do.
Absolutely. I think learning your boundaries is so important, and it seems like you've really come to realize that you can do multiple things. And I'm sure as time goes forward, you'll learn so much more about yourself, and what more you can do as some chapters end. I mean, you mentioned school earlier, and you're finishing up grad school pretty soon, so it's around the corner.
6 months.
And that's
6 months.
Right, and that'll go by very quickly. Speaking from experience, it goes by very fast. So just enjoy it, and then take some time to get to know who you are.
Yeah, that's where I'm probably going to struggle, because I'm so used to just keep constantly working that I'm having very little time for myself for the last like so many months. And it's kind of like, okay, let me take a break, let me figure out what I want to do and go for it. I think that's the problem I'm going to have for myself.
Right. And you'll struggle, and we've all struggled, but what you're going to have to do is find a new routine, right? To build
Right.
a new way of going about your day. And that could be, um, that could be balancing work and maybe even finding some new passion projects, or
Right.
some way to spend your free time, or I don't know. There's just so many adventures out there that you can pursue. You could, even start going on some road trips. Whatever it is that your heart desires, I encourage
Right.
you to give yourself that time and get to know yourself. And don't tell yourself that it's going to be impossible and that's going to be hard, because that's what I'm hearing from you, and that's not what you want to do for yourself.
Right.
You should be your number one supporter, your number one um, cheerleader,
Right.
for lack of a better term, because if you see life as always going to be tricky or always going to be challenging, I mean, that's part of life. That's part of getting older. That's, you know, part of understanding or not understanding the unknown and learning how to grapple with it. But you will be okay if you tell yourself that you will be okay, and you won't know every bit of what's coming your way. But as long as you know that you'll be able to handle it and you'll find a way to cope, then you'll be okay. And
Right.
that's kind of the attitude that I would encourage you to have is, and I know that you've been in the work, school, all of that grind, but
Right.
you'll find another way to balance out work with some other incredible pastimes, right? So you'll figure that out, and you might actually find out some new things about yourself, right? As I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah. I guess I have to, lack of a better word, rewire my brain. I know that's kind of cliched, but I kind of have to.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's possible. It's possible. Clearly, you already know what you have to do, right?
Exactly.
Um, yeah, you'll be good. You'll be good.
Yeah. So, how has COVID affected you? I know I have my answer. So,
Okay, well, no, then no, don't do that. Don't do that. Go for it. Go for it. Speak your
so,
truth. What's going on?
so it's kind of like two parts here. Part one is before I had COVID, and part two is after I got COVID. Yes, I got COVID back in January of this year, but I'll get to that in a minute. So, before COVID, I thought that COVID was just okay. We don't know what it is. Let's kind of be by ourselves for quarantine for a while, and then we can figure. The scientists will figure out, excuse me, a good like vaccine or like within a few months, and we just have to wear a mask and that's it. I thought it was going to be pretty easy. I kind of figured it wouldn't be more than 2 weeks, mainly because it's a new virus. Um, don't know how humans got it, but somehow humans got it. And then that's okay. That's just my opinion. But and then fast forward to late January of this year, I got COVID. Don't know how, and I don't want to know how either. But anyways, at the end of the day, I got COVID, and that actually kind of changed my views because I've heard people like suffering severely from COVID, from like getting like like a cough or a cold ish kind of thing to even a new set of lungs, which is like huge. And then for me, it's like okay, I have body aches, got body pains, and that's it. I couldn't
Mhm.
every like how you fall sick, and then you get like the body aches, you like sitting hurts, standing hurts, lying on your bed hurts. That's all I had for 2 days. I was like, why is everything hurt all of a sudden? Like, and my
Mhm.
thought, my thing was the Monday before, since I felt this way on a Tuesday and Wednesday. The Monday before, I was like, I thought I had a really hard workout, and I thought I was just like sore from that like Tuesday next morning. So I was like, okay, probably for my workout. I'm just like, okay. And then turned out one of my coworkers uh, got COVID. That not the Friday after I felt that way, but the week after, week plus. And it's like, okay, let's all get tested just to be sure. And that's how I ended up getting COVID. I was kind of like, okay, I'm bulletproof now.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you're doing okay. Just
Right,
continue to be cautious and mindful,
right,
because there's no guarantee. But I'm glad that you definitely have this positive outlook, and that's awesome.
yeah, yeah. So I'm over
Really
here like, okay, I got COVID, and then a few months went by. March, yeah, March or April this year, I ended up getting 2 shots of from Pfizer. I'm just like, I'm good now. So, what are
Yeah.
your thought process?
It's not really a thought process. It's more like my experience. I was very conscientious.
Right.
Um, I have been very frustrated with people who believe themselves to be superhuman, who have essentially no, please don't raise your hand because it's going to frustrate me, because it really frustrates me because
Yeah.
I've lost people to COVID, and
Oh shit.
it's due to the lack of respect for a virus that we don't know much about. We still don't
Right.
know enough about it. And it's changed so much. And people just went on with their lives. They were celebrating things, having parties, going out, doing whatever they wanted. Like, this was not a thing. They were going out maskless, they were
Yeah.
not social distancing. And it really frustrated me because here I was trying my best to isolate myself from the world. Um, and aside from, anyone, it's just like, it was just me and, my family of four. And when I mean my family of four, I mean myself, my husband, and our cats. That's it. Like, I was not seeing friends. I was not seeing any family. It was like, I do not trust, and I don't know where you've been. So
Right.
that was really, really a challenge for me. And to see the fact that I was following the rules and that people were not was pretty angering, because I felt like people were just laughing in the face of this virus. And that's why it took so long. And that's the truth. It's like, that's how it kept spreading,
Right.
because people continued to travel, they continued to do things that they weren't supposed to. And it was just really angering. But what I did is I turned it into an opportunity for me to succeed on my own. So I devoted myself to my work. I put all of my energy back into my business, Empower You. And I decided to continue my work with my clients, and
Right.
really just focusing on not only building myself up, but building others up as well, because I knew that this was a time in which it was so needed. And it's always needed to have that sense of empowerment and to empower others. But COVID has shown me that people need more support than they're willing to admit. And those that are willing to admit that they want the support, um, in addition to needing it, they are the ones that are my target audience, right?
Right.
Because a lot of people have this whole "I can do it all by myself" attitude, and
Yeah.
I'm guilty of
Being
it as
there.
well. Right? And
Yeah.
I have shown my audience that, yeah, we can do a lot of things by ourselves, or try to, but it might not go so well. So maybe accept that a little bit of help isn't a bad thing. Accept that you might need a tribe to back you up and support you as you're going through things. And my tribe helped me. It's like, I co-authored a book this year, and hard copies will be here soon. And I I started to coach my students again and coach women again. And I started to be interviewed on various podcasts and start having discussions. And now I'm interviewing other amazing women who have done such amazing things in their lifetime, and really used COVID as an opportunity to fly and thrive, quite honestly. And
Right.
it's just been phenomenal, to be honest. I I myself have been very cautious, but I I am so grateful to the world, because for all the good and the bad that happened in this past year and a half, I personally have learned a lot about myself. And I've learned, just like you have, what I can and can't do. And there's a lot that I can do. And I'm actually going to be um a regional supervisor, so like a teacher trainer with AmeriCorps this year, in addition
Nice.
to mentoring youth. So I'm going to, I have a caseload of about 25 to 30 people, and they will be under my care, and I will be mentoring them as they go through their year of service with us. And it's something that I experienced this past year, and I truly believe that it is really important for us to empathize with others, to empower others, and to nurture them
Right.
In a tough love, uh, as well as empathetic love kind of way. And that's exactly what I'm going to be able to do. And for the first time, I'm doing everything that I have wanted to do. I am not compromising myself. I am not changing who I am for others. I'm not working for anybody that does not support my values, because I have decided that I am no longer going to fit myself into a box to appease a job or a person or the world. I am now going to align myself with opportunities that match who I already am.
Makes
And
sense.
maybe they will enhance who I am going forward, because I'm too old to keep folding myself up like a piece of origami to have someone just spit me back out and say, no, you're not a good fit for us. We tried. And, it's not something that I'm willing to do anymore. I'm not willing to sacrifice my mental health, my well-being, who I am overall, and who I want to be for a paycheck. I
Right.
am now going to make sure that I am given what I am owed, and in turn, I will give back to you as well. And it's just a phenomenal feeling to be able to have this sense of realization that I can do it, I will do it, and I am doing it. And that's exactly
Oh,
what I'm doing now for the first time in my career. Every opportunity that I am pursuing is one that aligns fully and wholly with who I am at this given moment and who I will be in the future. And that is just an indescribable feeling. I just can't even tell you. And I'm so, so, so grateful. That being said, this year has been tough, but I am so grateful that I have come out of it stronger and willing to impact the world in an even more positive way. And I get to do it with a smile on my face. As I tell my clients, I get to design my day every single day now. I get to choose how it runs, how it goes,
right.
when I get up, when I get my work done, who I work with. This is all, for the most part, it's all on me, and that is the greatest gift that anybody can give themselves. So the moment that you choose
So,
yourself, the world is your oyster.
so in short, you're saying you have empowered you. Sorry, bad joke. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
sorry.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like I know a lot of people who have started job or yeah, basically started a new job, started a company, started multiple companies while working their 9 to 5 job, and basically people figured out like, hey, this insert thing, your job, life, marriage, whatever, isn't working out the way I want it to work out. And people have talked to their wives, husbands, girlfriends, boyfriends, whoever, talk to their bosses, talk to counselors, talk to psychologists, all that stuff, those type of people, that said, hey, I want to have a lasting memory, if not for XYZ person, but at least for my family at a minimum. Because at the end of the day, it's not what you do that makes a difference, it's how you remember that makes a difference. Like, for example, MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, they're both fought for basically human rights and all that good stuff. But unfortunately, they one and obviously Gandhi, what do we call it, fought for India, the Indian subcontinent's freedom, like being India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh after he passed away. But unfortunately, they like every other humans, like I'm not perfect, but we still talk to them 50, 60 plus years later saying, look at what they have done. Look at like George Washington. Look what Abe Lincoln has done. We're still talking to him like 100 plus years later. So it's kind of like interesting to see this. People realizing we're here, but our legacy will last till day after tomorrow, forever. So sorry, I kind of went on a little rant there.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You don't need to apologize for
Yeah,
speaking your truth. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
yeah. So yeah, that's just my own thought process and stuff like that. And then that also affected me too, because like before the whole pandemic, I was thinking like, should I start a podcast? Should I not? Should I get the equipment for the podcast? Will my podcast be successful? What will my podcast name be? It's like, and then the funny thing is, I was talking to the bat, and it's kind of like, hey, he was in the same boat. Should I start a podcast? What should I talk about? It's like, hey, let's just form one podcast, see how it goes. And if either of us don't like it, we can always quit. It's not like we're gonna like quit. It's not like we're gonna like have this thing. We have to work on this forever. And thing if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So it's kind of like, hey, let's just join forces and let's figure it out.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was fun. And obviously, and I don't know about that. I can't speak for him, obviously, but I like having a podcast. Like I love it. Like I like having it. I like talking to different people. I like meeting, discussing different things. And again, that's kind of a little bit of backstory about how the podcast was started and all that good stuff.
Yeah, well that's an amazing thing. I mean, that's a win for you, right? That's
Yeah.
something that came out of COVID that it inspired you to create this for yourself.
Right.
And that's an incredible thing that you not only had the idea, but you pieced it together and you're pursuing it.
Right.
And it's a work in progress, but you're doing it. And who can say anything else about it, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
that's an excellent thing. And that's exactly what we want to encourage people to do, is to pick their passion projects wisely and pursue them, craft them together. And that's an incredible thing, because if you're living for you, and if you're working for you, and if it's truly something that you love and that you're passionate about, then you never really see it as work, right? As they say, that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
And that is so, so true. And it seems like you're definitely finding your footing in that arena. And I myself I found my footing, and I'm really loving it. And I'm really excited to start traveling safely, but start going on road trips and start going places locally for 3 or 4 days at a time here and there. Because shout out, I created for myself an opportunity where my work is 98% remote. So if I plan it accordingly, I can go out, for a weekend, getaway, or 4 or 5 days anytime I want, maybe at least once a month. And for myself and my husband, we are so excited. I told him, I said, your work is remote, so we can do this. Just like, we just bring our computers and just go. And we are so, so excited for that. And and we decided to finally pursue that opportunity. We decided to not wait for the world to hand it to us, but we decided to claim it. And like yourself and like myself and like countless others, that's exactly what COVID has taught us, is that if the world is not going to create that opportunity for you, you need to create that opportunity for yourself, because otherwise you'll be waiting on the sidelines forever, just kind of kicking back your feet going, okay, when is it going to come my way? But sometimes you have to demand it, pull it close to you, hold it close, and just say, nope, you're mine. I'm going to make this happen today. And that's exactly what all of us have done. And I hope that we continue to do that,
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I don't mean to quote epic rap battles of history, but I'm going to do it anyways. But in one of their rap battles, it was basically Western versus Eastern philosophers, where Nietzsche says, you have to take control of the life you're given. And it's true. Like, you have to be able to understand what you're passionate about, because not everyone's passionate about waking up at 6 a.m. for a 9 o'clock job that you would rather not be there at, which is obviously soul crushing and draining. And I think everyone, at least to some degree, has experienced that. So, and who said life was easy, right? Again, another cliche. Hey, you're on mute.
No, sorry about that. Yes, no, I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you.
Right.
Yeah. No, I could not agree more.
Yeah. So that's just my thought process of everything that happened during COVID for me during the pandemic. And then so life after COVID, yes. After when the pandemic ends, what do you think will happen?
I don't, first of all, I don't think it's ever going to end. I
Right,
think it's going to be something that we're passing along to the upcoming generations, and that's just the way that it is.
right,
Um, I I would like to say, I'm going to amend that statement for myself to not be life after COVID, but life with COVID, because there are variants that are running around, and there are probably
right,
some that we don't even know about. And I really feel like COVID has shone a light on the imperfections, the flaws in our society, and the flaws in our mindset, right? Just across the board, in various career sectors, just in the way that people orient themselves, the way that people behave, just overall in general.
right,
It's definitely shown a light, and it's shown a light on the gaps that we need to fill. So I
right,
think going forward, people are going to realize that we need to make some serious changes, systemically. In the US, we have a lot of work to do. In other countries, we have a lot of work to do. Um, but hopefully we learn from it. That's something that's coming up countless times in conversations that I'm having with people, is that hopefully we learn from this and that this does not happen again, because this is the result of a lack of respect. This is the result of people and their egos. And it was a long time coming. And COVID just exacerbated the way that
yeah,
we all feel and have felt about so many things. And unfortunately, that includes the evils in the world that have just kind of used this as an opportunity to come forward and
right,
speak their truth and spread their harm. And really, I think life going forward is just going to be a little bit more conscientious, a little bit more filled with empathy, is what I'm hoping for, and that's something that I'm
right,
witnessing in my circles. Like for myself, I'm setting boundaries and I'm protecting myself if my values don't align with other people, or if they just or certain people that I used to spend time with or talk to, if they're just too toxic for me, I don't explain myself. I don't even try, because it's not worth it and it's not worth the headache. But I just kind of close the door on that avenue, and I just think, okay, I've come a long way. I'm no longer the same person that they used to know. So I'm
mhm,
not going to go back in time. In order for me to move forward, I really need to move forward. And that means shrinking my social circle, expanding my business network,
right,
and really being more intentional with my time. I think for myself, I'm definitely going to be more intentional with my time, how I spend it and who I spend it with.
right,
And that's going to be applied to my professional life, my personal life, just life overall. And that's something that I'm really, really focusing on, is my wellness. Because as um, as a woman, we as women for centuries have talked about this countless times, but we have allowed the world to tell us what we're good at, what we can't do, what our limitations are, and it's come to a head. And this year, women have been disproportionately impacted by COVID. So I definitely want to be one of the few going forward who not only help my fellow women rise up, but help myself rise up and say, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to live for the rest of the world. I'm going to be more intentional with my time. If I want to travel, I'm going to travel. If I want to, um, if I want to have a party, I'm going to have a party. Not that I really do, but my point is that I'm going to live for me.
right,
I'm not going to live for others. And with COVID, I'm actually much happier, because it's shown me who is truly in my corner and who isn't. And I look forward to the future with COVID, mind you,
right.
mask and all. So yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that women have been disproportionately affected by COVID. What do you mean by that? Just out of curiosity.
We have lost our jobs. If you look it up, it's actually pretty scary that women have been put out of work more than men. And that is because women primarily are the caretakers of their families. That means when it
Right.
comes to their relatives, it means when it comes to their children, they are the person that people rely on. So instead of going back to work, they have been taking unemployment and staying at home because work means that they have to go back. That means that they have to find sitters. That means that they have to find caretakers. And that all costs money. And that's not
Right.
easy. And society has created it. Society is to blame. So women now are thinking, okay, what can I do from home? If you look through Facebook, if you just look up the ads, the amount of women who are looking for work from home opportunities where they can be their own boss, where they can call the shots as to the hours that they work, as to the work that they do from their home. Like even if their kids are, they're working, they're on Zoom in school, right, for a couple of hours. During those 2
Right.
hours, imagine what the woman of the house is doing. She's either cleaning, cooking, doing something, right? Because everyone relies on her. Or she's also looking for an opportunity where she can be flexible, where she can maybe sell jewelry for a couple of hours on Instagram, or
Right.
she can start sending emails, or she can be a virtual assistant, whatever it is. Women are looking for more flexible options that they can still provide for their families because they are tired. And
Right.
COVID has screwed them over. So when COVID screwed them over, it showed women that, hey, I need to find an opportunity that supports my new way of life because my kids are home, my parents live with me, or my parents need me, what have you. And the responsibilities are tenfold what they were pre-COVID. So yeah, women are overwhelmed and they are looking for ways to just stay above water, keep their heads above water. And in my own network, that's exactly why there's so many women entrepreneurs this year. If you look it up, how many women are pursuing their own passions this year because they're realizing that the 9 to 5 job just does not support their needs. They never supported their needs, but they thought that was their only option. And with COVID, there are more remote work from home opportunities than ever before. And I definitely think that they're going to stick with it. So yeah, when I say women were disproportionately impacted, I mean it. I mean it. Men, you all have more flexibility, and it's not on you. It's just the way that the world here was built. But women are definitely finding a way, and we have been proven to be very resourceful creatures for centuries. And just keep an eye out. You'll be able to see what other things we've got going on.
Cool. But I didn't know that any of that, so thank you for telling me
Yeah,
that.
of course, of course.
Yeah. So I guess my opinion of future COVID would be like, like moving forward, that's what I mean by future of COVID, is that I think it's going to be here, like you said, it's going to be here for X amount of generations to come until we figure out a lack of a better word, end all be all cure for everything, like HIV/AIDS, the common cold, COVID, stuff like that. Everything, just find one end all be all cure. I think it's going to be COVID is going to be that till that happens, and then I think it will be just kind of like the common cold in a sense, where it's like you just get a shot, maybe a couple shots a year, if that, and then that's it. You move on to the next episode. To quote Dr. Dre. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how COVID will happen, or what will happen at like 5-6 years after COVID. Like it'll be interesting to see that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think we're definitely not in the thick of it where we can't go and mingle with others. We can't go out
Right.
into the world. But again, I'm going to say that there's never going to be an after COVID. It's just going to be with COVID, just like you mentioned, the common cold.
Right.
If you think about it, lots of people this year over the, various news outlets have been making comparisons to polio, right? The polio outbreak.
Right.
It's now a booster shot that you take, right, before kids go to school. So
Yeah.
we are not, it's never going to go away. These viruses are going to stay here, but it's about how we're going to learn how to cope with them, how to live with them, how to coexist, right? This means the booster shots that you mentioned. This means extra health protocols, right? Washing your hands, wearing your mask. I mean, this year we were so concerned about COVID. You know what didn't happen? We didn't freak out about the flu. We didn't freak out about cold because people who were listening, they were masking up, they were wearing gloves, they were keeping themselves distanced. And it's clear that those are protocols that we need to keep, not only for COVID, but just for illnesses in general.
Right.
And I think it's so basic, right? That common courtesy, that hygiene aspect of it. But it's, common sense is not common. And hopefully going forward, people realize that, hey, maybe this is something that we need to encourage for all illnesses. If you get sick, mask up, quarantine, stay at home. Don't just go and fight through it and be Mr. or Miss Bravado and say, oh, hey, I can do it. I can keep moving forward. It's not a good way to be. And we do it all the time, right? We praise the overworked human being. But I think one thing that COVID has taught countless people this year is that when you need a break, take a break. And if that means that you're sick, if that means that you have a cold, you feel something coming on, stay home for a couple of days. Don't worry about it. And companies are going to need to learn to be a little bit more empathetic. They are going to learn and need to learn some more empathy, because if they don't, people are going to start quitting more than they have been. Because companies like restaurants, if I see them on the street, they're like, oh, I'm hiring for all positions. Well, of course you are, because people do not want to work for less than minimum wage, for very few benefits, and then they have to be on their feet all day long for people that have incredibly high egos.
Right.
Why is that something that anybody in their right mind would want to sign up for? Excuse me.
And
No.
and in California, at least, I can't speak for the other states.
Right.
I know California is like at will firing or at will letting go or whatever the right verbiage is. But it's like
at will hiring and firing contract. Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, it kind of seems like a lot of companies, I'm not going to say every company, it's like, you breathe a certain way, you're going to be finding a new job kind of thing. So it's kind of like, why do I think that's like also why it led to a job market crisis, or like unemployment crisis, or whatever the right verbiage again is. It's kind of like, I get paid shit prices, I get paid very little for very few benefits. For if I breathe a certain way, I'll get fired, or I can get this unemployment check and do whatever the hell I want with it. Most people would pick, or I don't want to say most people, but a lot of people would pick the unemployment side than working. At least that's my opinion.
No, I agree with you. I think a common discussion that has been coming up, I don't know if you've heard it as well, is that how come people are staying on unemployment? That they're taking advantage. And really the issue shouldn't be that they want to stay home and take care of their families and live off of unemployment. The fact of the matter is that in California, at least, it is maybe a max of $2,800 that you get a month. That is not a lot of money, but that is more if they are willing to stay home and take that and collect it month after month. That means that their job was not paying them that much in the first place. And that should be the crux of the issue, that they need to get paid more. Like, I was just watching a show, and they, it was like teachers were competing for funds for their classrooms. And one teacher was like, okay, $100, and she live in California, but it is very common. And she gets $100 to spend on her classroom. That is not that much money. I know that schools that I have been affiliated with, that I have worked with, if you had a master's degree, okay, woohoo, if it qualified, they give you $1,000. That's it. I went to school for 3 to 4 extra years, and you're going to give me $1,000. Do you know what that's going to do for me? Nothing. So that is the kind of lack of appreciation that this world gives to people who serve, right? And it's just, it's a worker bee mentality. It's like, oh, please work for me. Please kill yourself for me. Please give all of yourself, and this is how much I'm going to give back to you. It is absolutely ludicrous. And this is why we're going to face a teacher shortage, and not just a teacher shortage. In every aspect, in every sector going forward, people are going to demand more. And if their needs are not met, they're not going to compromise their values anymore, because they've realized that it's not worth it anymore. They realize that they can find a better opportunity elsewhere. And that is the best thing. That is the best thing to happen. As people here say, that as like since sliced bread, that is the best thing. When people realize their worth, they are no longer willing to put up with being abused on multiple levels, even if it's subtle. They're no longer willing to put themselves through that. And that's an amazing thing.
Mhm. I agree. And like, again, I think I mentioned this during your first podcast of the show, where it's like, I don't understand why athletes get millions upon millions of dollars potentially, but teachers who actually change the world get paid next to nothing, if not nothing at all. That's just my own questioning. Like, why? I mean, I understand like certain sports like football, rugby, wrestling. You're putting your body through a car crash over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, fine. I understand like some of that money goes towards keeping your body relatively there because God knows it ain't going to be there for very long. And then to a lesser extent, even with basketball and football, where it's like, all right, I may not get a concussion every match or every game, but I'm putting my health out there. But at the same time, it's like all you're doing is literally just like putting a ball into a circular hoop or crossing a certain line in a certain area, or like or putting a ball into a back of a net. I mean, you're like, at least from the fans' point of view, it's like it doesn't change your life that one team won versus the other team won. It's kind of like life goes on and stuff like that. And that's coming from a guy who played sports for most of his life and put his body through hell and a half. So like I'm talking from both sides here. So, but again, my own thought process.
No, and absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, because as you know from our previous discussions, I agree. And I am not denouncing sports, but I am saying that it can be an equal playing field because they both go hand in hand.
Right.
People who work with children, who work with young people, who are with them from K through 12 into college, they deserve so much more than what they're getting. And they are the ones that are getting these young people geared up to head into the sports world. They are the ones that are getting them geared up for it. So shouldn't there be an agreement like, hey, you're going to make that much money, I want to make that much money. And there is money sitting around that just is not being used for proper things. It's one belief that I've had my entire life. It's all about the allocation of funds. Where is this money going? How is it being used? And who is benefiting from it? And right now, the people that need it the most, right? Healthcare, restaurants, educators. Where is that money going? I mean, these days it's like, even these companies, they don't want to pay benefits, so they have these contractors, and they want to pay them like what, $20 an hour?
If that.
It's if that. That's actually that's like a win if you get that. That is shameful. Okay. In other countries, cost of living is less and salaries are more. Imagine that. But if you say that, then that becomes like, people start talking, oh, that's socialism. It's like, okay, but they're happier. They get to live. They don't live from paycheck to paycheck. And here in this country, and then, I mean, honestly, Rhino, like for you and for for our generation, people are telling us and they're making claims that we are not, that the population is depleting and that we are not just and having kids. But it's because the people that came before us, they made it so hard for us. They messed up this country. So now we have to clean up the mess, and then they want us to have kids on top of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, do I have $100 that I can spend? Do I buy food or do I buy food for the kids? Or do I support the kids? Or it's kind of like, both are important.
Right. No, I agree. And again, that's a budgeting issue. And for some families, it really is that dire. But, for myself and those that are in my circle, right, we're kind of, we have our partners, and we it's something that we want to do, and it's something that we're planning for, but we've delayed it for so many years for just that reason. We wanted to put our career first. And for women like myself, I love working, and I don't intend to have multiple children. And that's because I know what's within my budget, and I know what's within my, limitations. It's like, for me, I am happy giving to just one child and just being there for them and supporting them and sending them on their way. That's a commitment that I'm willing to make. But it's this pressure that you have to have more than one child or kids, if at all, and why would you want pets, and why would you, it's just all of this criticism from people that have created this very difficult system for us that we have to live in. We can't afford to buy homes. You, in the area that you and I live in, if you want to buy a plot of land, it is like, it can be like 80,000, maybe even 800,000, at least close to 1 mil, higher than that. And it's
Yeah.
not even in a good area, but it's
Yeah.
because it's in Silicon Valley. That is insane. That is
Yeah.
absolutely insane. But then there's the thing is that our parents, there's this belief that we need to own property. We need to build equity. I actually don't believe in that. I do not believe in that. I've grown up with that white picket fence mentality, but it's since shifted because life after COVID has shown me that, hey, I can have the life that I want and I can live in luxury. But if that means that I'm leasing a condo, I'm happy with that. And that's exactly the life that I've chosen. And I'm very, very happy. I get to live within my means. I get to travel whenever I want. I get to do whatever I want. And I'm happy. But there are
Right.
people out there who might say, hey, why wouldn't you want this too? Why wouldn't you want that too? Because that's just not within my budget. I would rather not be house poor and put all of my money into a home for the sake of building that equity when I could have a beautiful home that I might be leasing, but it's mine.
Right.
And I can pay for someone to help me clean it, manage it. I can travel whenever I want at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. And I just think that we need to be more embracive of these new and upcoming ideas going forward. And again, this is another thing that I think our generation is learning from COVID, and we need those that have come before us to stop dictating how we should live our lives, because the way that we want to live is not necessarily wrong. It's just different. And the world that we're living in is not the world that they grew up in. So they need to come to terms with that.
Yeah. I mean, I know obviously we grew up in the dark ages of the internet. I mean, the internet came to
But we didn't really have internet like that. I don't know if you remember it. The way that I remember it, we did not have internet. Became really, really big in high school. Okay. And maybe like towards the end of middle school, but it was not really a big thing growing up for us. The kids today, my students, they have it at the age of under the age of 1. They have it.
Yeah.
There's a joke that kids are born with cell phones. Yeah.
So like from I want to mean like the dark ages. I mean like from when the year the early 90s to like you said, end of middle school, almost high school is kind of what I call the dark ages, where it's like it takes you like really 20 minutes just to get like on like Chrome, like on Google or whatever. It's kind of like, it took like a while because we had dial-ups and like modems and all. I was like, oh god, I still have memories from when I was younger. But it's kind of like it's changed, obviously. And I know when we have kids, their generation is going to be different from our generation, and our grandkids and our future generations will be obviously different from us. Like it's going to be interesting to see. That's all I gotta say.
Everything will, Rhino. I think going forward, there's, we don't know how exactly it's going to fit in, but it will fit in one way or another. And all
Yeah.
we can do is keep prioritizing ourselves and our needs and our mental health, and we'll be okay. I really believe that we'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you said, I think I think a good note to end on is it's not the life we live, it's the legacy we leave behind. I forgot who. I don't know if I just made that up on the spot or if someone else quoted that, but I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Absolutely, absolutely, right now. I could not agree more. It's about living your life in a way that people remember you in a positive light. I agree.
Yes. So I guess we'll end it there for today.
Sounds good. Sounds
right.
good.
As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put all the information down below in the description box about social medias, mine, as well as Empower's, as well as the hacker and the band and everybody. And if there's any hosts in the future, let us know. We'll figure something out. We'll get you on board. And then, as always, have a good one. See you next episode. Peace.